You're listening to Echoes of Jewish History. I'm your host, Jimmy Bitton.
Are we ready to act? Are we ready to stand 9 1 hour time? When I grew up in this city, I grew up hearing a term of progressive accept Palestine. I grew up hearing that it was normal to hold an inconsistency only when it applied to Palestinians. I saw the politicians that I admired speak of universal rights and then draw the line right when it came to Palestinians.
Every once in a while, a society reveals what it truly believes, not through its speeches, but through the people it chooses to elevate. New York, that once mythic haven for Jewish safety and success, has just done something extraordinary and extraordinarily telling. The election of Zohar Mamdani is not just another political curiosity. It's a signpost, a warning, perhaps even a reckoning. For generations, Jews in America believed in an idea that this nation was different, that here, history had been defeated, that America, unlike Europe, had learned immunity to its oldest disease. But history has a way of circling back. It always seems to. And so this episode asks a simple question. Has the idea of American exceptionalism, at least when it comes to Jews, finally come to an end? Because if New York can forget why it was once the safest of cities for the Jewish people, what exactly is left of the promise that America was somehow different? Before we begin today's episode, I want to take a moment to express my deep gratitude to those who make Echoes of Jewish History possible. This episode is powered by Echoes Media, news and commentary that is unfiltered, unfashionable, and unafraid. Today's episode is sponsored by the 11th Annual Wharton, D.C. Innovation Summit, taking place on Thursday, November 6th, 2025, at the Valor Park Conference Center in Tyson's Corner. This event is open for everyone. I encourage you all to attend. The link is in the show notes. I also want to extend heartfelt congratulations to Gerald Mayer, celebrating his 90th birthday, a remarkable milestone and a testament to a life of strength, legacy, and light. And to Josh and Neve Nir, Mazal Tov, on your bar mitzvahs. May this moment mark the beginning of lives rooted in courage, Jewish identity, and purpose. To all of you who listen, share, and support this project, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And if you or your organization would like to partner with Echoes Media, reach out anytime at echoesmedia@icloud.com. Now let us begin. Today we explore how the cataclysm of October 7, 2023 and the anti-Semitic surge that followed have irrevocably demolished the long-cherished mythos of American exceptionalism for Jews. This potent narrative construct posits that the United States, unlike any other land of exile or galut, offered a singular topos, a refuge, a place where Jews could thrive without the shadows of historical peril that haunted other diasporas. Yet, as we shall see through a measured diachronic examination of history and current realities, this belief has understandable psychological appeal, but reveals itself as a kind of luminous but ultimately insubstantial projection. And in its wake, we are compelled to confront an enduring historical truth: that true security and self-determination for the Jewish people reside not in the benevolence of host nations, however enlightened, but in the sovereign homeland of Israel. Let us proceed with the severity that Jewish history demands, avoiding hysteria and embracing the logical progression of evidence. For in the annals of our people, patterns emerge not as coincidences, but as typological lessons etched in time, reoccurring motifs in the grand midrash of Jewish survival. To understand the myth of American exceptionalism, we must first situate it within the broader saga of Jewish diaspora existence. A galut, paradigm inscribed with exilic cyclicity. The Jewish people dispersed from our ancestral homeland following the Roman destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE have navigated a world of exile marked by cycles of acceptance, prosperity, and sudden reversal. This pattern is not anomalous, but intrinsic to the diaspora condition, as chronicled in texts from the Babylonian Talmud to medieval chroniclers, from the Cairo-Geniza fragments to the Yizkor books of annihilated Eastern European shtetls, and into the modern historiography of scholars like Salo Baron and Yosef Chaim Yerushalmi. The Galut is not merely a geographical state, but an ontological one, a condition of perpetual alterity, where Jewish identity is negotiated in tension with the majority culture. The Talmudic sages in tractates such as Berachot and Shabbat, already intuitive to this, Ein lecha adam she'ein lo sha'ah. There is no person without their hour, but also implicitly, no community without its moment of trial. The medieval philosopher Judah Halevi, in his Kuzari, framed Jewish existence as a perpetual gerut, strangerhood. Consider them the so-called golden age of Spanish Jewry in the 10th to 12th centuries under Muslim rule, wherein Sephardi Jews flourished as scholars, physicians, poets, and courtiers. Maimonides, the Rambam born in Cordoba in 1138, epitomized this zenith. Codifier of Jewish law in the Mishnah Torah, philosopher in the Guide of the Perplexed, Moreh Nevuchim. His contemporary, Judah ibn Tibon, translated Hebrew classics into Judeo-Arabic, fostering a cultural synthesis that produced the piyutim of Ibn Gabirol and the linguistic innovations of Dunash ben Labrat. Yet the Almohad invasions of the mid-12th century forced Maimonides' family into exile, and the Christian Reconquista culminated in the 1492 Edict of Expulsion under Ferdinand and Isabella. Communities that had imagined themselves integral to Iberian society, speaking Ladino, serving as tax collectors, and composing poetry, were uprooted en masse. Over 200,000 Jews were expelled. Tens of thousands perished or converted under duress. The convivencia, for all its cultural splendor, proved a brittle edifice. Similarly, in the Ashkenazi world, the 19th century Haskalah, or Jewish Enlightenment, in Central Europe promised assimilation and equality. Jews in Germany and Austria-Hungary ascended to prominence in academia, finance, and the arts. Heinrich Heine converted, yet retained his Jewish irony. Gustav Mahler directed the Vienna Opera. Sigmund Freud revolutionized psychology. The Vision-Stuff, the Judentum movement, led by Leopold Zunz and Abraham Geiger, sought to historicize Jewish tradition within the European Academy. Jews believed the Enlightenment's rationalism had banished medieval prejudices. But the Dreyfus affair in France, where a Jewish officer was falsely accused of treason amid a storm of death to the Jews, and the rise of racial anti-Semitism in Germany foreshadowed the cataclysm, the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews perished, not despite integration, but often because of it. These are not isolated episodes, but exemplars of a recurring paradigmatic dynamic. In the Islamic world, too, Jews under Ottoman rule or in Persia enjoyed periods of relative stability. In Salonika, Jews comprised nearly half the population by the 16th century, dominating textile trade and speaking Judeo-Spanish. In Baghdad, the Sassoon family built a commercial empire. Yet the 20th century Farud pogrom in Baghdad between June the 1st and June 2nd, 1941, instigated by pro-Nazi elements and local nationalists, saw 180 Jews murdered, hundreds raped, and thousands of homes looted. Post-1948, over 850,000 Jews were expelled from Arab lands, their property confiscated, their citizenship revoked. Tolerance, it seemed, was conditional, revocable at the whim of shifting political winds. What then made America seem exceptional? From the arrival of the first Sephardic Jews in New Amsterdam in 1654, fleeing the Portuguese Inquisition, to the great waves of Eastern European immigration between 1881 and 1924, the United States presented a narrative of opportunity unburdened by the feudal hierarchies of Europe. Here, the Constitution's First Amendment enshrined religious freedom, and the absence of a state church or aristocratic privileges allowed Jews to ascend rapidly. The early American Jewish experience was marked by figures like Asser Levy, who in 1655 petitioned for the right to stand guard in the militia, and Chaim Solomon, who financed the Revolutionary War. By the mid-19th century, German Jewish immigrants like Levi Strauss and the Guggenheim family built industrial empires. The Eastern European influx, over 2 million strong, produced the Yiddish movement, Yiddish theater, and the Yiddish Daily Forward. By the mid-20th century, American Jews had achieved unprecedented integration. Brandeis, Cardozo, Bader Ginsburg, science, Einstein, Salk, Feynman, civil rights, Heschel marching with Martin Luther King Jr. in Selma, Joachim Prinz speaking before kings, I Have a Dream, literature, Saul Bellow, Philip Roth, Cynthia Ozick, music, Leonard Bernstein, Bob Dylan, Carole King. This success fostered a belief in American exceptionalism, a term borrowed from broader U.S. historiography, but applied uniquely to Jewish life. It suggested that America's democratic ethos, meritocracy, and pluralism created a diaspora unlike any other, one where Jews were not tolerated but full citizens, insulated from the anti-Semitic tempest that had ravaged elsewhere. Post-Holocaust, this myth gained potency. The U.S. absorbed over 140,000 survivors via the Displaced Persons Act in 1948 and positioned itself as a moral beacon, contrasting with Europe's blood-soaked soil. The Eisenhower Doctrine, the Jackson-Vanik Amendment in 1974, and the ADL's monitoring of hate reinforced the narrative. Incidents like Leo Frank's lynching in 1915, the Dearborn Independent's anti-Semitic campaigns seemed marginal, aberrations in an otherwise progressive arc. Yet, history echoes caution. As Salo Baron argued in his magisterial A Social and Religious History of the Jews, diaspora prosperity has always been ephemeral, contingent on the stability and goodwill of the host society. Baron famously critiqued the lachrymose concept of Jewish history, popularized by Henrik Gratz, which overemphasized suffering. Yet even Baron acknowledged a logical truth. Without sovereignty, Jews remained vulnerable to the whims of majority sentiments. Critics like Gershom Cohen and Robert Chazen have argued for a more nuanced view, highlighting Jewish agency, cultural creativity, and mutual influence in diaspora settings. The Cairo Geniza reveals a vibrant Mediterranean Jewish mercantile network. The Responsa literature shows rabbinic courts adjudicating alongside Islamic qadis. Yet, even these scholars do not deny the asymmetry of power. Jews thrived within host societies, never over them. America, for all its virtues, is no exception to this rule. It is merely the latest chapter in a long volume. The country club exclusions of the 1950s, the numerous clauses in Ivy League admissions, the Lavon affair fallout, and the Jonathan Pollard case all hinted at latent tensions, but the myth persisted. Enter October 7th, 2023. A day that etched itself into Jewish consciousness with the brutality of ancient pogroms, yet amplified by modern savagery. Hamas's assault on southern Israel, resulting in over 1,200 deaths, including 364 at Nova Music Festival, 38 in Kibbutz Be'eri, and the abduction of 251 hostages, unleashed not just physical horror, but a global ideological tremor. In Israel, it prompted a defensive war. In the diaspora, it exposed fissures long papered over. In the United States, the response was swift and revealing. Anti-Semitic incidents surged 337% in the 2 weeks following October 7th, according to the ADL. and over 400% for the year, according to the FBI Hate Crime Statistics 2024. Physical assaults, campus unrests. But in my view, what shattered the exceptionalism myth was not mere street-level hate, but its proliferation in the citadels of American liberalism. Elite universities like Harvard's President Claudine Gay equivocated on whether calls for Jewish genocide violated campus policy. Cultural institutions, the 92nd Street Y, canceled events with Barry Weiss and Joshua Foer. The Brooklyn Museum hosted a Free Palestine exhibit featuring blood-red handprints. The New York Times ran op-eds framing October 7 as contextualized resistance. NPR's coverage emphasized Gaza's casualties while downplaying hostage testimony. In corporate America, Google employees staged walkouts demanding the company cut ties with Israel. DEI trainings omitted Jews from marginalized groups. This was no fringe phenomenon. The American Academy of Art and Science, the Guggenheim Museum, and the Frankfurt Boot Fair witnessed boycotts and cancellations of Jewish voices deemed Zionist. In Hollywood, a chilling silence prevailed. Few statements from major studios, selective outrage over Gaza, but not the hostages. Logically, one might ask, why this eruption? History provides context. Anti-Semitism, as Hannah Arendt observed in The Origins of Totalitarianism, morphs with the times, religious, economic, racial, and now political. In post-1967 America, as Israel transitioned from the underdog to regional power with ancient tropes of Jewish control. The Durban Conference in 2001, the BDS movement, and the Mearsheimer Wald thesis mainstreamed the idea that Jewish lobbying distorts U.S. policy. October 7 became the trigger event that unleashed the suppressed resentments. The myth of exceptionalism had blinded many to this undercurrent. American Jews, integrated and successful, assumed their progressive allies, steeped in intersectionality, would extend solidarity. Yet October 7 revealed that solidarity was conditional, fracturing along ideological lines. Jews as white oppressors in the oppressor-oppressed binary, Zionism as settler colonialism, a term that erases 3,000 years of Jewish indigenuity. From the river to the sea, a phrase that, in its maximalist interpretation, denies Jewish self-determination. This is not to indict America wholesale. Far from it. The U.S. remains a land of profound opportunities, legal protections, bipartisan support, and our allies, particularly evangelical Christians, moderate Muslims, and Indian Americans. But the myth that America offers a qualitatively different diaspora experience lies in ruins. Like Spain's Golden Age, prosperity coexists with latent vulnerabilities. In reflecting on this, we arrive at a profound historical insight. The diaspora, for all its contributions to Jewish creativity and resilience, is inherently transitory. Theodor Herzl, in The Jewish State, articulated this after the Dreyfus Affair. Quote, "We have sincerely tried everywhere to merge with the national communities in which we live. It is useless." End quote. Herzl's Zionism was not born of despair, but of logical foresight, the recognition that only sovereignty could break the cycle. Israel, established in 1948 amid the ashes of the Holocaust, embodies this antidote. It is not merely a refuge, but the reclamation of agency. A state where Jews govern their fate, defend their people, cultivate a culture unmediated by external tolerances. To claim Israel as the sole enduring home is not to dismiss the value of diaspora communities. Many thrive and enrich Jewish life. Chabad's global network, Hillel on 600 campuses, day schools with hundreds of thousands of students. Nor is it a call to immediate exodus. Practicalities vary. Rather, it is a measured acknowledgement of historical patterns. Empires rise and fall. Societies evolve, but anti-Semitism persists. I challenge any listener, historian, scholar, or thoughtful observer to argue otherwise. Present evidence of a diaspora unmarred by reversal, cite a host nation where Jewish security proved eternal. The record speaks volumes.